Well, I'll begin, if I may, by taking a step back and just asking you to explain a little bit about GURA, the Global United Centre for Research and Analysis. Let's take a step back and think, well, why did you feel the need to set up this organization, and what does it do? And then we'll get into some issues about tourism, particularly in your native Saudi Arabia.
I was a journalist for 6 years, and I began my journey in 2007. And then I was, writing about socioeconomics in Saudi Arabia, and then I started into the Middle East. Went to London, and the revolutions erupted, and I thought, I wanted to really be an observer of pre and after revolutions. This is how I started the Global United Research Analysis Center.
Okay, so it came out of your journalism and some of the issues that you became aware of, and then feeling that perhaps this would be a way to try and address some of those issues. Talk to me a little bit about the kind of work that it's doing. I know there's a number of initiatives that you're involved in. We were talking about some of them before we came up on stage. So tell me about some of these initiatives.
One of the initiatives, actually, I concentrate on socioeconomics. And I think there are the targets of every society's prosperity. And I wrote a fourth-way law theory, which came after the opening the center. And that deals with socioeconomics and how to evolve that and put it into kind of projects that can really help societies to overcome instabilities, whether in the Middle East or global instability.
And it's described, I think, on your website as a thesis for the 21st century, and it's a detailed book. Can you give us a 60 or 100-second overview of the central pillar of that thesis?
Well, it's all about dealing with the cyber world, really, and the 21st century is all about cyber, and it's all about IT and cyber attacks and things, and cyber marketing. So we have not been prepared to deal with that, really, so far, and the game has really been created before the laws. And we have done 20th century of ground rules with no cyber rules. So I thought I wanted to do something for the 21st century. And it is 4 pillars, which starts with security, then equality, freedom, and education on the cyber world that can reflect downwards.
And I think what's particularly interesting and relevant with you being here with us today is that you've realized that the tourism and hospitality industries have an awful lot to offer in solving some of these social and economic challenges that the world is facing, and Saudi Arabia is no different, creating jobs, creating prosperity. Just explain what convinced you that it was this industry, the tourism industry, that could offer so much in this field?
2 criteria actually, that I started writing about when I was in Saudi Arabia in 2007. That was what other than energy and petrol we can invest in before we really need to invest in. So this is when I started my restaurants. I've done 7 restaurants myself. I'm a chef, I'm a cook. So I wanted to do something that, portrays the Saudi cuisine or the Saudi branding, and then take it global rather than bring other brands local. And this is how I started my journey. And I think the Chinese project is one of the most amazing ones. They have invaded us with their food before anything else. So this is how it started, by leisure, by food. And I think this is how you promote peace and dialogue between nations, is that you open up your home, your organic produce, and then you capitalize on it. And I think that's one of the most fascinating ways of nourishing economics in the world, is tourism and leisure.
So tell us about these restaurants. Where are they? Paint a picture.
I opened 4 of them in Saudi, in Jeddah and Riyadh, and then in London, in Queensway, and in Harvey Nichols, and some other areas in London that my business partner knows about. So one of them is abstract art cafe called Craze, and it was about promoting the women and the girls in my country, the artists, and that was in 2007. So I wanted to merge them with a leisure sector, and I opened one in Jeddah, went on to do kakati, which is a very old recipe in Lebanon, and I promoted it into having 20 filling and so on. And then I went to Fish Me, which is like local fish done in a fast way. Les Artistes, Dibage, which is a Kapsa house. And Les Artistes is a cheese house which promotes Arab cheese, not Swiss cheese.
So there are the restaurants, and there's a couple of new initiatives that you were telling me about briefly beforehand. There's the Desert Night Sands.
Sands.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Desert Night Sands, in 2012, I went for a tour around Saudi Arabia, and I visited all the regions, and I saw the potentials that are there that have never been used and never been actually shed the light on. So I decided to break Saudi Arabia into 5 regions and take from each region its produce organic, and to use the families who produce these products and put it in one resort that people can come and visit, with a museum, visual museum about different parts of Saudi Arabia, which of course with the tourism right now and the visa sector and the laws, you cannot go around Saudi Arabia without a visa that allows you to be a tourist. So I wanted to have an experience in my resort, which is in King Abdullah Economical City. I got with the head of the board of tourism in my country, Prince Sultan bin Salman, presented the idea for him, he loved it, and we've been working on it since then. It will represent the smells of Arabia from each region, with the produce and the cooking of each region, with a visual art museum for each region in the spa.
And do you envisage that that will be mainly domestic Saudi tourists it will be targeting, or will it be people from around the world coming into Saudi Arabia for a vacation?
Really, I was targeting the pilgrims who come to Saudi Arabia and go to Mecca and Medina. So King Abdullah Economical City is in the middle. So I was targeting all these, we have more than 30 million a year, so I was targeting those 30 million to have an experience, Saudi experience, that will change the identity of Saudi Arabia, that will take Saudi Arabia into the leisure sector slowly and steadily, and then expand from there to different parts of the world. And I've been offered already few parts to open the Desert Night Sands.
Well, we look forward to hearing about that. I'm interested to know, is it, because you say this goes back to 2012.
Right.
But of course, over the past year, 18 months or so, big changes in Saudi Arabia with the National Transformation Plan, with the emergence of the Deputy Crown Prince, Highness Mohammed bin Salman. Do you notice, as an entrepreneur, if you like, in the tourism industry, that it's becoming easier to get these initiatives off the ground, that there is a willingness to change the visa system, to open up Saudi Arabia so that pilgrims can go beyond the holy sites and see different bits of Saudi Arabia?
I mean, this is the challenges. You know, I mean, the vision and the mission is there, the will is there, but I think we need a lot of work to be done before we achieve what Prince Mohammed actually is looking forward, and he's working very hard. He's a very enthusiastic young man, and we all support him, but we need two to tango. So really, we are looking for more laws that will be implemented in the future about the visa sector, the laws of working laws, permits. All these have to come along with it. I mean, you know, it takes a whole environment to change the vision or the demographics of any country. And we're going steadily into that. But definitely we have a lot to cover before we actually arrive to the stage of opening the land to the touristic sector. First, you know, we have the two holy mosques, we have security issues, we have geopolitics which are at hand everywhere. So it's a challenge, but definitely everything good comes out of challenge.
This is true.
And I think, you know, he's doing very well, but it's going to take a little bit of time to acquire that vision. And the Desert Night Sands may be a beginning of something that would encourage the sector of tourism as a destination for the GCC countries and for the pilgrims that come yearly and heavily from all over the world.
And of course, developments like the entertainment city and the Six Flags Resort that's being mooted just outside of Riyadh would be potentially a game changer for tourism in Saudi Arabia, and potentially a game changer for a subject that I know is you're very passionate about, which is job creation.
Right.
This is a labor-intensive industry. Tell me why you're so excited about the potential for job creation.
Because it's actually it would take us into prosperity. It would take the youth into a different world. It would change the view we view the world, the globe, the interaction, the bridges building, and that would really take us to another platform, socio platform, where really we integrate within the global theme into within a very peaceful stages that to come. Employment, youth, training is one of the most important things that we should be looking at globally, but especially locally. Saudi Arabia actually really suffers from two things: unemployment in youth and women's actually employment. I mean, everywhere is women's employment, and you know, and I think, you know, the whole sector of I was going to say terrorism. So tourism, right, is ignoring women, while terrorism is not. So they're focusing on women, and we're not focusing on women in this sector. And I think this is where we should be looking at more profoundly, is how to use women in the sector that will actually engage and promote family, society, and economic growth within the sector.
So what would be an action plan, if you like, or a to-do list of things that you would like to see happen, specifically within Saudi Arabia, but as you say, this applies elsewhere? What things do you think need to happen for more women in particular to take up jobs within the hospitality industry?
Laws.
Laws.
Laws. I mean, that's the first thing you begin anything. You know, you create the law, and then the platform, and then security comes, equality, freedom, and education. You know, this is part of my thesis, is that when you create the law that protects and gives the rights to people, then this is where civil law, Islamic law exists, but how many people tend to go and be aware of their law, their rights? And this is where civil society comes and gives each one their platform and their borders. So by really producing laws that protects women everywhere and gives them their rights, I think this is when, women will start to rise. And I have a campaign that we started in Bahrain. It was like this, sitting on a panel. And it was like, why, they were asking me that women should be leaning in, as the book says in the States. And I think, that was a very great step at the beginning to lean in. But now we should stand up. But not stand up and, to say more than to shed the light. Stand up and shed the light on the work of women. How much women are really contributing, but nobody is taking notice or putting the light on their work. This is what now we're really concentrating on. To be able to help women, we have to shed the light on these women who are, and these great ladies and young ladies who are doing a lot in Saudi Arabia, but nobody knows except the burqa, unfortunately.
We haven't got much time. I'm thinking about the people in this room and what contribution they could make. We've got a lot of developers here, a lot of hoteliers with the big local and international hotel
There's
operators.
one project that I haven't actually mentioned, so I will mention it before you go on.
Okay, what should we do? And this is the
Saudi goodies.
This is in the airports?
Yes.
Yes, tell me about that.
Saudi goodies is just like a second thought of Desert Night Sense. It's the same idea, is to bring the organic produce of the country and photography and everything. It's like, the ones that you see down in Piccadilly Circus or in Washington or whatever. Monuments and all the produce of Saudi Arabia in shops and airports that will change the way people look at Saudi Arabia, and it will expand their view about the country, and it will contribute a lot in the economy of Saudi Arabia.
And what stage is that at?
Last stage.
Last stage?
Yes.
So when am I going to be, I don't know, where was the last airport I was in? Zurich. When will I be able to buy Saudi products in an airport like Zurich?
I hope next year. We're at the last stage. We're putting things into place with the investors and governments and airports, and so it's a little bit complicated. But definitely they're helping us a lot, and we need as much help as we can in that project.
And would that start? Would you launch at an airport in Saudi Arabia and then take it out?
In Jeddah.
In Jeddah.
This is where everybody comes to bring something home as a souvenir from the Holy Lands.
So that would be the first market, people buying in Saudi Arabia to take out, and then from there
promote it,
as you have done with the cafes in a gateway city like London or others.
Definitely.
Finally, just before we wrap up, for the hotel operators or the developers here, what role can the people in this room play? What would be your call to action to the hospitality industry to try and help you and others achieve these social and economic goals that we started with?
Definitely with their expertise, management, and input into such a first of its kind in Arabia, definitely. I know there are 5 senses and 6 senses and, hotels which have made it big and large in the world, and they have started with local theme. And I think Saudi Arabia deserves that attention right now, and I think it has the market to grow, and it will have to start somewhere. So I would look for the input of everybody who's here, or some of them anyway.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm sure you are pushing against an open door because people are very, very keen to be active within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your insights with us today. Let's show our appreciation, Chairman of the Global Union United Centre for Research and Analysis, Saudi Arabia, Her Royal Highness Princess Basmة bint Saud Al Saud. Shukran, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Very nice.